Hey, this is Dave. It's autumn in Kentucky, and I wanted to show you how I put up a hammock for cold weather camping. I don't have a sewing machine, and so I don't sew under quilts, and I like to do things on the cheap. So I'm going to show you how I put together a hammock setup using equipment that I already have. So no additional cost, and it keeps me warm well below freezing. Inside of the rucksack, I packed it in reverse order for the items that I'll be needing. So on the top were the first items that I'll pull, and of course that was going to be my ground tarp, which is a piece of Tyvek, and my hammock ropes for attaching the hammock to the tree, the hammock, and emergency survival blanket, which is Mylar material. I actually have two of these. This one is used, so it's just packed up. I have a wool blanket. I have a compressible sleeping bag, and I have another hammock. That would be my wife's hammock. She doesn't go out with me when I do cold weather camping. Since I already have it, I don't have to purchase another one. And then my cover tarp and my ridge line. And I also have a self-inflate 3-inch thick mattress pad. Very comfortable to have. So that's inflating itself right now. So I'm going to go ahead and string up a hammock here, and just some ropes that I've got from the build of a house. I used it for hauling the lumber that was used for building the house. So the first hammock is hung. The next part that's going to go in is a Mylar blanket, and then on top of the Mylar blanket is going to be the wool blanket. So this is actually going to serve as the underquilt, and the hammock that I have was $40. I bought it online from overstock.com. And it's the equivalent of the Double Eagle. Very comfortable, very durable. I've had it for well over a year. I've used it about 12.5 times, and it shows no sign of wear. I like my hammock strung very tight, and so the same will happen for the underquilt. So the next thing that goes on is the wool blanket. You can use any kind of blanket you want. You can use a quilt or whatever you're willing to carry. I personally prefer wool. It's very warm, and if it does get wet, you can shake it out, snap it, and it dries very, very quickly with body heat. So there's my underquilt, and I'll go ahead and put the next hammock on top of that. Put another Mylar blanket in. Put the self-inflate mattress in, and then put my sleeping roll on top of that. So I've got my tie downs on the tree. I've got two hammocks set up one inside the other. I put the first hammock up, and then I put a Mylar emergency blanket inside of that hammock. I then put my wool blanket on top of that. Next, I strung a second hammock. I used the same tie downs, so they're the identical hammocks, and they're going to fit just like a glove. Put another emergency blanket down, and then my inflate mattress. And then I need to take a few minutes, and I need to make sure that all the material, because there's 5 layers of it now, that it's all evenly stretched out. So start with your Mylar blanket that is underneath on the first hammock, and just reach in between the layers of material and find that blanket and work it until it's straightened out so it's not bunched up. Do the same thing with your wool blanket or whatever blanket that you're using. Your second hammock is going to automatically stretch. Then go after your second Mylar emergency blanket if you have one or if you choose to use it. And then go after your mattress. Make sure that it's squared away where you want it. The last thing you're going to do is your bedroll. And that's always easy. And you'll fit that around you once you hop up in the hammock. So you just pre-position that where you want it. And this can keep you warm below freezing. I've had it down to 18 degrees. I was chilled, but still got a full night of sleep. So it worked out fine. And in that instance, I just used a regular rain fly for my top tarp. But what I've done on that cause is I've adjusted my rain tarp, and I made my own, and it's significantly larger. It's 12 feet by 16 feet. So when I hang my ridge line for that, it's going to be about 18 inches above my hammock, and the tarp will come all the way to the ground on both sides, and I can close it in on the ends and basically cocoon myself. Haven't had the opportunity yet to test that in a 15 or 10 degree range Fahrenheit, but I'm quite confident that that's going to keep me warm through the night. The issue will be that I'll end up collecting quite a bit of moisture inside, and but that's just going to frost up on the tarp, and you'll want to take care of that in the morning by taking the tarp off and flipping it upside down or inside out, so that the sun, hopefully the sun will be out that next day, and that can take that frost off of it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. That frost isn't going to hurt you. It's not going to be right up against your skin or anything. So that's very low cost. As I mentioned, you can get these hammocks for about $40. There's actually a website that I found called wish.com, and they've actually got a very similar hammock for $18. So if you're on a budget, pick up a couple of hammocks and then use whatever you already have, and you can do some winter camping too. So here's the setup of the tarp over the top. As I mentioned, it's about 8.5 to 10 feet wide and 16 feet long. So I just use existing sticks from the ground and snap them off, and I tag down the ends. I've got tie downs that I made, stitching it on, and those about every foot. And there's plenty of material for the end that it just closes in on itself. And plenty of room on the inside, so you can get a real nice comfortable sleep in the evening. So that's my setup. I've acquired things over about a 2-year period. If I had to do a cost assessment on it, I'd say it's probably about $150 total. So not too expensive. So I'm just testing out the hammock here. It's real comfortable and plenty of room. Now getting in with the tarp this close to the ceiling and then tied down on the ends is a little bit challenging. Rather than just hopping up in your hammock like I would normally do and have plenty of room to swing my legs, I actually had to partially lay down and then swing up into the hammock. So just a slightly different technique. But right now it's about 50 degrees outside. I didn't bring the thermometer out with me, but just the fact that there's no wind impacting me right now, it already feels substantially more comfortable. My body heat is already working and it's filling the cavity. So over the next couple of months, hopefully I can make a video, and there'll be some snow on the ground here, or certainly some frost in the trees and on the leaves on the ground. So I'll give you a review after spending a night out here in this configuration. Have fun. Enjoy your wild camping on the cheap.